Now we move on to Israel. Following the return of the last hostage, Ran Gvili, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has confirmed the conclusion of hostage crisis in Gaza. The remains of Gvili were reportedly transported from Gaza to Israel for burial. In a post on Truth Social, U.S. President Donald Trump has also celebrated the achievement, describing the recovery of all hostages, both alive and deceased, as a remarkable feat that many thought was impossible. Netanyahu has also commented U.S. President Donald Trump for his role in securing the release of the 20 living hostages. Let's listen in.
And people didn't believe that we'd get the 20 live hostages. With President Trump's help, we got them out. With our brave soldiers who went into Gaza, stuck a knife to Hamas, and they realized that their last stronghold was going to go. And President Trump stuck a diplomatic knife on the other side. We got the 20 hostages.
Moreover, Netanyahu has outlined the next steps in Gaza, emphasizing that the focus now shifts to disarming Hamas and demilitarizing Gaza. Let's listen in.
אנחנו בפתחו של השלב הבא. מה זה השלב הבא? השלב הבא זה פירוק החמאס מנשקו ופירוז רצועת עזה. השלב הבא איננו שיקום. החמאס בעזה יפורק מנשקו. עזה תפורז. זה יקרה כפי שאמר ידידנו המשותף, נשיא ארצות הברית דונלד טראמפ, זה יקרה בדרך הקלה או שזה יקרה בדרך הקשה, אבל זה יקרה.
Meanwhile, in a related development, 9 Palestinian detainees reportedly were released by Israel and transferred to Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in central Gaza. Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Adrian Calamel. He's a terrorism scholar, joins us live from New York. Thank you very much, Mr. Calamel, for joining us. Good to see you. Now, looking at this, how does this recovery of final hostage alter the strategic leverage of Israel and Hamas for the next phase of the conflict, like phase 2?
Yeah, well, first of all, good morning to you, Asuma, and good to see you, and good morning to your viewers as well. This first phase right here, it was supposed to take 72 hours. It's taking quite a bit longer, and although they, many people didn't envision this happening, they thought that, and they talk about it being the most difficult part. I really think the most difficult part is actually yet to come, where you talk about phase 2. Because if you look at phase 2, it really is about the disarmament of Hamas. Either Hamas leaves on its own volition, gives up its weapons. It's been given and granted a humanitarian or safety corridor, a safe passage to neighboring countries, or they're supposed to give up their weapons, destroy them. Tunnels are supposed to be destroyed. But it's all very strange, because the way Trump laid out the economic plan, or his whole plan, if you go through it point by point in order from 1 through point 20, point number 1 talks about a de-radicalized terror-free zone. Well, we haven't gotten to that point. That might be the end objective. Now comes the really difficult part of getting to a terror-free, de-radicalized zone. And Netanyahu just said there, he said, Hamas had the option between giving up the hostages or keeping their last remaining stronghold. Well, the fact is, they still have that last remaining stronghold, and I still don't think people have really given much thought to how that's going to be taken away.
Right. So, as you rightfully highlighted, that this is now the challenging part, or the phase 2 is now the difficult part, where the attempts to disarm Hamas and demilitarizing Gaza will be the priority. But what are the challenges, and especially, do you think U.S. and Israel are aligned? Because to me, at least, it seems like you highlighted earlier, that the economic plan that was, publicized by Trump administration, it seems like he is pushing for economic stuff than disarming Hamas for now.
Yes, and I think that's one thing that Trump's kind of overlooking, is that economic development, a lot of times, it's especially with this ideology, it's not going to override that ideology. And you can pour as much money into it and make it an economic zone. But if Hamas remains in control, that means that they're just it's going to, their ideology is going to continue to infect the youth that continue to grow up, and they won't be able to live in a peaceful coexistence, which is littered throughout this 20-point plan about Hamas members being able to live in a peaceful coexistence with Israel or leaving. Their charter says that they need to destroy them. So, I hate to be a skeptic on this, but when I look at this plan, I say, what it eventually is going to come to, it's going to be Israel going back in to destroy the tunnels and remove the weapons, remove Hamas, because they are not accepting any type of, I haven't seen one Hamas member put up their hand to say, yeah, I'm willing to go to a neighboring country for safe harbor. They are going to stay in Gaza. So right there, that poses a major problem. So who's going to go and root them out? It's not going to be a bunch of technocrats that are being put on this transitional council. It's going to be probably the IDF.
And also, how do you see this President Trump, hailing or praising this achievement in Truth Social? But like you rightfully mentioned, and I almost forgot that this whole process was only supposed to take 72 hours, and it's taken much long. What would be the effect of, President Trump just acting like everything was a smooth sail, that was not an issue? What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's trying to put this first phase past him. It's basically putting lipstick on a pig, as far as I can see it. It's I think if anything, 72 hours shows the true nature of Hamas. There were drone footage of them, staging fake scenes where they're digging for actual bodies, but there are no bodies there. So it's just been really, the whole thing's been a canard. I think Trump, once again, he's too focused on the economic aspect, and he just doesn't understand the ideology of Hamas, which is really strange, because the ideology that Hamas has isn't much different than the Islamic Republic, and you can see that he's dealing with them in two totally different ways.
Yes, indeed. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Calmel for joining us today and sharing that insight. Thank you very much. Now we look at U.S. Minneapolis Mayor